It was supposed to be a normal workday at one of the city's biggest logistics firms. But what happened in that company parking lot would soon cost the CEO everything. Before we begin, tell us where in the world you're watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story might just restore your faith in humanity. The morning sun shimmered over Titan Freight Logistics, a sprawling delivery company on the edge of Atlanta. Its massive parking lot buzzed with life, trucks backing up, forklifts whirring, workers shouting instructions over the roar of diesel engines. Among them was Benjamin Cole, a 65-year-old truck driver whose hands were as weathered as the steering wheel he'd held for decades. His face was lined, his uniform faded, but his spirit was unbroken. Every morning, Benjamin arrived before sunrise. He parked his old rusted pickup at the far end of the lot, clocked in without a word, and started his pre-trip checks. He'd been with the company for 31 years, through mergers, layoffs, and new management. While others chased promotions, he chased something simpler: dignity. Benjamin's co-workers respected him. The younger drivers called him Old Ben, half joking, half admiring. He was the kind of man who'd help you tighten a bolt or share his lunch if you forgot yours. But not everyone valued that kind of man. At exactly 9 a.m., the air changed. A sleek black sedan glided through the company gates, its engine purring like a predator. The license plate read, Ridge 1. That's when murmurs started. "Boss is here," one worker whispered. "Everyone act busy," another muttered, gripping his clipboard tighter. From the car stepped Damon Ridge, the CEO of Titan Freight. Late 40s, polished shoes, slick gray suit, and a pair of sunglasses that cost more than most people's rent. He was known for his cold efficiency and even colder temper. Damon didn't just run the company, he ruled it like a kingdom. And everyone, from the executives to the janitors, knew to stay out of his way. That morning, Damon was already furious. A major client had threatened to cancel a shipment deal worth millions, and his mood was as dark as the clouds gathering over the lot. He marched across the pavement toward the main warehouse, barking orders into his phone. Benjamin happened to be nearby, rinsing off the side of his delivery truck with a long hose. He didn't see Damon approach until it was too late. The hose jerked slightly, spraying a small arc of water right across Damon's imported Italian shoes. For a split second, silence filled the air. The sound of forklifts died. Conversations froze. Then Damon looked down at his soaked shoes. He blinked once, twice. "You," he hissed, voice low and venomous, "just ruined $1,000 leather." Benjamin instantly switched off the hose. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't see you there." But Damon wasn't listening. His face twisted with disgust as he stepped closer. "You people never learn, do you?" he snapped. "This is why you'll never be anything more than the guy holding the hose." A few workers nearby exchanged shocked glances. One even reached for his phone, quietly pressing record. Benjamin stood there, shoulders squared, but his voice stayed calm. "Sir, I'm just doing my job. I didn't mean any disrespect." Damon sneered. "Job? You call standing around and spilling water a job?" He leaned closer until his cologne filled the air, sharp, expensive, and suffocating. "Here's something to remember, old man. This company doesn't need fossils like you slowing everyone down." Benjamin blinked, the sting of humiliation cutting deeper than any insult. "I've been here since your father owned this place," he said quietly. "And I worked every Christmas while others took vacations." "Enough!" Damon shouted, drawing attention from every direction. "You're fired. Right here. Right now. Get off my property before I call security." The air went still. A truck engine sputtered to silence. Even the birds on the warehouse roof seemed to stop singing. Benjamin's lips trembled, but he didn't argue. He simply nodded once, slowly removed his work gloves, and set them on the side mirror of his truck. Then, With a faint smile that carried both pride and pain, he said, "You can take away my job, Mr. Ridge, but not my peace." He turned and walked away. As he did, one worker whispered, "He didn't deserve that." Another muttered, "Man, this is gonna blow up online." And indeed, as Benjamin's old boots carried him across the parking lot, one of the warehouse staff hit upload on a 48-second clip titled, "CEO Humiliates Elderly Worker for No Reason." By lunchtime, it already had 200,000 views. By sunrise the next morning, the parking lot confrontation was everywhere. News blogs, social media, and even local TV stations ran headlines like, "CEO Fires Elderly Driver in Rage. Employee's Dignified Response Goes Viral." Within hours, millions had seen Benjamin Cole's quiet strength as he stood his ground against Damon Ridge's cruelty. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Justice for Ben. Hashtag Respect Workers. Hashtag Titan Freight Exposed. Under every post, people wrote about their own workplace humiliation stories. The world suddenly knew Benjamin's name, and Damon's too. Inside Titan Freight's shimmering glass tower, chaos reigned. Damon stormed through the executive floor, his jaw tight, barking orders at his PR team. "I want that video gone. Contact every platform, strike it, flag it, whatever it takes." But one of his assistants hesitated. "Sir, it's already been downloaded thousands of times. It's on mirrors, news channels, even talk shows are covering it." Damon slammed his fist on the table. "Do you people understand who I am? I built this company." A trembling staffer whispered, "With respect, sir, people don't care who you are anymore." The truth cut deep. Because outside, in the real world, the internet wasn't just angry, it was united. At the same time, in a quiet suburban kitchen, Benjamin sat at his small round table, sipping lukewarm coffee. His hands trembled slightly as he watched himself on the morning news. "Local worker fired for accident, stands tall with grace." The anchor's voice was calm, but his granddaughter Alicia, a 28-year-old lawyer, was anything but. "Grandpa, this man humiliated you publicly. You can't just let it go." Benjamin smiled faintly. "Baby girl, peace is better than revenge." "Peace," she shot back. "He's lying about you, Grandpa. He's saying you were disrespectful and violent. That's defamation." Benjamin's expression darkened slightly. He reached across the table, gently holding her hand. "The truth doesn't need shouting. It stands tall on its own." But Alicia wasn't satisfied with silence. When she left that morning, she promised one thing: "I'll make sure he answers for what he did." By afternoon, Titan Freight's largest client, a government logistics division, announced it was suspending its $280 million contract pending ethical review. Reporters swarmed the company gates. Workers whispered in hallways. The board of directors called an emergency meeting. And while Damon Ridge screamed behind closed doors, Benjamin Cole sat quietly in his living room, holding the framed photo of his late wife, the woman who always told him, "Respect costs nothing, Ben, but it pays in peace." He didn't know it yet, but peace was the one thing Damon Ridge was about to lose forever. The morning after the contract suspension, Titan Freight's headquarters looked less like a business and more like a fortress. Security guards lined the entrances. Reporters crowded the sidewalk. And behind the glass walls of the top floor, Damon Ridge was unraveling. He'd spent the entire night on calls, lawyers, board members, damage control teams. Nothing worked. Every attempt to spin the story made things worse. Inside the boardroom, one of the senior executives spoke nervously. "Sir, people are demanding you issue a public apology. They're saying—" "Apology?" Damon interrupted sharply. "To who?" "Some washed-up driver who can't tell a hose from a brake line." The words dripped venom. But even his own staff wouldn't meet his eyes anymore. They'd seen the clip, the shove, the sneer, the disrespect. They knew what he was. Meanwhile, Alicia Cole was building her own case. In her small downtown law office, she sat surrounded by stacks of documents, witness statements, and company reports. Across from her sat Luis Hernandez, a forklift operator who had secretly recorded the entire incident from another angle. "They told us to delete everything," Luis said quietly. "HR came down the next day with threats, said anyone who talked would be fired." Alicia leaned forward. "Luis, that video could prove intent. It shows him shoving your coworker and firing him on emotion, not cause." He nodded nervously, sliding his phone across the table. "I backed it up on my cloud. Just don't tell them it was me. I got kids." Alicia smiled reassuringly. "You did the right thing. My grandfather deserves justice, and so do you." That night, Benjamin's phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. "Mr. Cole," a low voice said, "you and your granddaughter need to stop this. The CEO has powerful friends. You wouldn't want something unfortunate to happen." The line went dead before Benjamin could respond. He stared at the phone for a long moment, then set it down slowly. "They think fear will fix this," he murmured. "They're wrong." By dawn, Alicia's footage was ready. She edited both clips, the first from the worker's phone, the second from Luis's, and uploaded them side by side to social media with a single caption: "The truth they tried to bury." Within an hour, the post exploded. 10 million views. 20 news outlets picked it up instantly. Commentators replayed the two angles again and again. Damon's shove, Benjamin's quiet dignity, the mocking words, "You people never learn." It was undeniable. Across the city, at Titan Freight HQ, Damon slammed his coffee mug against the table, shattering it. "Who keeps leaking this stuff?" he screamed. His assistant whispered timidly, "Sir, it looks like your own employees." The board chair spoke up, his voice cold. "You've become a liability, Damon. This isn't about a mistake anymore. It's about your character." "Character?" Damon laughed bitterly. "Character doesn't build billion-dollar companies. Power does." But that power was slipping through his fingers like sand. That evening, as Benjamin returned from the grocery store, he noticed something strange: a black SUV parked at the end of his street. He brushed it off at first. But when it appeared again the next night, idling outside his home, he knew. They were watching him. The next morning, Alicia burst into his house holding a folder of evidence. "Grandpa, you won't believe this. I got internal emails, whistleblower stuff. Damon's been funneling money through fake contracts and bribing inspectors to ignore violations." Benjamin frowned. "You sure you want to keep pushing, baby girl? These people play dirty." Alicia nodded firmly. "So do we, but with the truth." She handed him the folder. The evidence was clear: fraud, intimidation, and a plan to quietly replace older workers with automation initiatives, a coded term for getting rid of senior staff like Benjamin. "This isn't just about you anymore," she said. "It's about every worker he's ever stepped on." Benjamin exhaled slowly, looking out the window at the black SUV still idling down the street. "Then we finish this. No more fear." The next day, Titan Freight held a press event, a desperate attempt to save face. Cameras flashed as Damon walked up to the podium, his fake smile stretching tight. "Recent allegations against me and this company are exaggerated," he began, his voice dripping with arrogance. "We remain committed to." Then, without warning, every screen behind him flickered. His words froze mid-sentence. And then it appeared, Alicia's uploaded footage, playing live in front of everyone. The shove. The insult. The humiliation. Gasps filled the room. Reporters scrambled. The live-stream counter skyrocketed as millions watched Damon's own downfall broadcast across every major network. Alicia stood at the back, holding her phone steady, her voice calm. "That's the truth," she said. "And the truth doesn't delete." Damon's face turned pale as police entered the room, walking straight toward him. They had a warrant, not just for workplace assault, but for fraud and intimidation. The same SUV that had stalked Benjamin's house was traced back to Titan Freight's private security division. It was over. Later that evening, as rain tapped gently against the window, Benjamin sat with Alicia watching the evening news. The anchor's voice carried through the small living room. Titan Freight's CEO Damon Ridge has been arrested on charges of corporate fraud, assault, and obstruction of justice. The company's board has dissolved its leadership pending investigation. Alicia turned to her grandfather, her eyes glistening. "We did it." Benjamin smiled faintly. "No, child. Truth did." He reached for her hand and added quietly, "Sometimes God lets the proud rise high, so everyone can see how far they fall." The days that followed Damon Ridge's arrest felt like something out of a dream. Across the city, billboards that once carried Titan Freight's logo now displayed government seizure notices. The company's empire, the fleets of trucks, the towers of glass, the brand Damon had bragged about building, had fallen overnight. Reporters camped outside his gated mansion as federal agents escorted him out in handcuffs. His $1,000 shoes splashed in the same kind of puddle he once mocked Benjamin for. He tried to hide his face behind dark sunglasses, but the cameras caught every second. Every insult, every sneer, every ounce of arrogance that had finally turned to shame. "Mr. Ridge, do you regret what you did to Benjamin Cole? Is it true your own employees leaked evidence?" He didn't answer. For the first time in his life, the man who always had the last word had nothing to say. Meanwhile, across town, Benjamin Cole sat on his porch, a cup of coffee in hand. The morning sun glowed softly through the trees, the kind of calm he hadn't felt in months. The world finally seemed to have caught up with the truth, and for the first time in a long while, peace felt real. His granddaughter Alicia stepped outside, holding her laptop. "Grandpa," she said with a proud smile, "you're trending again." Benjamin chuckled softly. "What now? Another video?" Alicia nodded. "Someone made a documentary about your story. It's called The Driver Who Stood Tall. Millions are watching." Benjamin shook his head humbly. "I wasn't standing tall, baby girl. I was just standing right." Later that afternoon, a delivery van pulled up to Benjamin's small house. A young man hopped out carrying a package. "Mr. Benjamin Cole?" he asked. "That's me," Benjamin said. The young man grinned. "Sir, I work for one of your old co-workers, Luis. He told me to bring this to you. Said it's something special." Benjamin opened the box carefully. Inside was a plaque carved from wood, engraved with simple words. "For the man who reminded us that respect has no rank." Tears welled in his eyes as he traced the letters with his rough, calloused fingers. "People forget kindness faster than success," he whispered. "But when they remember it, it lasts longer than money ever will." Alicia smiled, resting a hand on his shoulder. "You changed more than a company, Grandpa. You changed hearts." At the same time, inside a quiet courtroom downtown, Damon Ridge faced a line of prosecutors. The judge's gavel struck sharply. "Mr. Ridge," she said sternly, "you are hereby sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for corporate fraud, intimidation, and obstruction of justice." Damon's lawyers tried to appeal, but the evidence was overwhelming. Emails, financial records, even recordings of him ordering employees to destroy proof. Every lie had been peeled back, layer by layer, until the truth stood bare. The same board members who once called him visionary now refused to look at him. His power was gone. His empire, ashes. When guards led him away, the same cameras that had once adored him now captured his downfall in silence. Justice didn't need to shout. It spoke for itself. Weeks later, Titan Freight's doors reopened, under new ownership. The new CEO, appointed by the board, reinstated dozens of wrongfully terminated employees and renamed the company Titan Unity Logistics. And in a quiet corner of the main lobby stood a bronze plaque with Benjamin's name engraved. In honor of those who work with dignity, not pride. Every morning, new recruits would pause by the plaque. The story of the old driver who lost his job but won back his honor had become company legend. 1 year later, Benjamin sat beneath a tree in his backyard, watching Alicia play with her little nephew. The laughter of family replaced the noise of engines and warehouses. He smiled at the sight. Peace had finally taken root. Alicia walked over, handing him a tablet. "You got an email, Grandpa, from the Workers' Rights Foundation. They want to give you an award next month." Benjamin looked at the screen. The invitation read, "Lifetime Honor for inspiring integrity in the workplace." He chuckled softly. "I don't need awards, honey. Just knowing people learn something, that's enough." Alicia leaned down and hugged him tightly. "You taught the world that even when life knocks you down, standing with grace can change everything." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Benjamin gazed out across the quiet neighborhood. The golden light reflected off his old pickup truck, the same one he used to drive to Titan Freight every morning. He whispered softly to himself, "Funny thing about life, sometimes you lose a job to find your purpose." A soft breeze rustled the trees, carrying his words into the evening sky. And as the last light faded, the humble driver who once stood alone against arrogance finally had what no company could give him: peace, pride, and legacy. Sometimes, karma doesn't knock, it arrives in headlines. And sometimes, the quietest man in the room delivers the loudest lesson. Wherever you're watching from, remember this. Titles fade. Power crumbles. But respect, once earned, lives forever. If you believe in justice, kindness, and standing tall even when life pushes you down, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this.